What's going on, guys? Sky here from techlifetodayco back with another video, and today's video, it's that time of year again, WWDC. So in this video, we're talking about all the things you can expect tomorrow for Apple's Worldwide Developers Conference, including iOS upgrades, a possible end to iTunes, an iMac Pro, macOS, and more. So let's get right into it. So the first thing we're going to learn more about is macOS 10.15, which is the next version of macOS. Now, it's rumored that we're going to have certain things that are focusing more towards iPad and Mac being combined into one kind of software. But in other words, it really means that you could have some iPad apps or some iOS related apps on the Mac App Store, which I think is pretty neat. So for things like Facebook, for example, that are native on the iPhone or the iPad will now start to work on the Mac instead of having to go on the web version. That's pretty neat. Now, the other thing we heard a lot about recently is that Apple's going to kill off iTunes and replace it with 3 apps: a music app, a podcast app, or a movies app. So at this point, it's kind of expected, unfortunately. You know, Apple's been running iTunes for over 18 years now. Of course, the iPod just got a refresh, but realistically, iTunes is not used like it used to be. People simply aren't using it, and in favor, they're just using iOS apps. Or on the Mac, they're just using separate applications for many things. So it makes sense why they want to get rid of iTunes. It's kind of useless at this point, as sad as that is, but I'm not surprised in any way, shape, or form that they're looking to get rid of it. Now, another thing with macOS is that 32-bit apps will no longer work, as you can see here. So some apps will no longer, that are supported on the App Store or even online, will no longer be supported. Now, when it comes to other software, there's going to be iOS 13, which hopefully will focus a lot on the iPad. Now, the goal with the iPad is hopefully they'll add multitask support. Now, they already have multitask support, as everyone really knows, with split view or split screen, but it's not like macOS. So if Apple wants to turn the iPad more into a professional device, I think they need to take the necessary steps to help evolve the iPad into something that's more than just a creator's device and something that can be used by most people. Now, in addition to iOS and macOS being upgraded, of course, watchOS is also going to be upgraded with several new features, including, for the very first time, an app store is going to be built in right into the Apple Watch. So no longer will you have to go on the iPhone to download apps. Now, this is making people believe that Apple is just going to let you untether the device completely from the iPhone, and to an extent that may be true with the 4G version. However, people need to realize that Apple is going to do whatever they can make you use the phone with the watch. They don't want the watch to replace the phone. So I won't be surprised if they still require an iPhone to be used with iOS 13 and watchOS 6. So as you can see here, according to Bloomberg, the company will reveal updates to the operating systems that run on the iPhone, iPad, Mac, Apple Watch, and Apple TV. Highlights include upgrades to the core iPhone apps, such as Maps, Reminders, and Messages, new apps for the Apple Watch that make it more independent from the iPhone, so like I said, the App Store is one of those, and enhancements to the health tracking capabilities of Apple devices, according to people familiar with the plans. Now, this is not surprising. Apple's been focusing a lot more towards the health market, if you will, so I'm not surprised that they're doing this. But I will say I do hope mainly that Apple focuses a lot on iOS 13 for the iPad. I think the iPad is pretty underwhelming, pretty disappointing overall. It's great for certain things like video editing. I personally prefer video editing a lot on the iPad, but ultimately I hope Apple makes necessary steps to upgrade their system. Other things that Apple's going to be releasing is dark mode, enhancements to possibly widgets, possibly even Spotify app support eventually, among other things. So it's going to be fairly interesting to see what happens at the Worldwide Developers Conference. So be sure to head over to techlifetodayco.com for more tech news just like this, and follow us on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook at techlifetodayco. Please feel free to let us know if you have any questions, and we hope to see you guys in the next video. Peace.